absolutely steadfast partner with the FRA on railroad safety. Not just on grade crossing safety, but on bridges, on notifications to first responders. She has been a tireless advocate in the Senate for improving safety, especially along crude and ethanol routes. And Senator Baldwin's support is so critical because the FRA cannot achieve a safer rail system by ourselves. It takes strong partnerships at every level. We are so grateful for the work that is that our partnership with the Senate, with the House, and with the state and local officials. So what we're here to announce today is a $3 million grant to Wisconsin to upgrade 10 crossings to have additional lights and gates along a 10-mile stretch of Waukesha County. In addition, there will be the creation of a pedestrian path and crossing. And this is wonderful news, obviously, for this area and this region. But I want to go into a little bit of detail why it's such a big deal. So on average, 23 trains travel along this corridor each day. And in addition to the freight trains that move through this area, Amtrak's Empire Builder travels along this route as well. Since 2005, there have been 4 collisions in this area, resulting in 2 fatalities. So this grant that will upgrade the safety on these grade crossings, we hope, will improve safety immediately and will keep some of those collisions from happening in the future. Many of these crossings currently have gates, but as we all know, drivers are sometimes tempted to go around those gates. And so there'll be an additional 2 gates added to many of these crossings, so that there will be 4 gates. So this grant will go a long way to equip these crossings to prevent vehicles from trying to make it into the path of a train, especially trains transporting crude oil. And it moves us closer to achieving the goal of reducing fatalities at railroad crossings. But this grant is just one part of our ongoing campaign to reduce fatalities. To reduce railroad crossing accidents and fatalities takes committed partners, as I just discussed, not just in government, but in law enforcement, and then sort of your non-typical safety partners, like tech companies, willing to take grade crossing data and integrate it into mapping applications. So the Federal Railroad Administration will continue to take an all-of-the-above approach to improving safety at grade crossings, with partnerships, with grants, with outreach, with education, through partnerships with groups like Operation Lifesaver, who have devoted their entire focus to grade crossing safety and to trespasser safety, and of course to continuing to work with our partners such as Senator Baldwin. So with that, it is my great honor to introduce Senator Baldwin.
Well, I am delighted to get a chance to join everyone here for this grant announcement. But I want to start by thanking Administrator Feinberg for all the partnership and work that we've been able to do together. I'll return to that in a moment, but I also want to thank Village President Jeff Knudsen. I know just from our conversation that you too hear a lot of concerns about the safety of your constituents in a community that is served by and plays host to a well-used railroad. You know, the safety issues have really been accelerating in recent years. And I've been sounding the alarm for a couple of years now because of what I've been hearing from my constituents, organized activists for rail safety, community leaders, elected leaders, appointed leaders, and the news media that has brought some significant attention to this issue. It is clear as we have greater and greater use of our rails to convey sometimes volatile, hazardous materials, including oil from the Bakken region of North Dakota. As we have more of that, the concerns for safety have certainly elevated. And we have taken a all of the above, all-in approach to this issue. I could say that we had concerns elevate when in the state of Wisconsin, 2 different parts of the state, we had 2 derailments within one weekend. One in the neighboring county to where we stand today, and another along the Mississippi River in Alma. And I will say, in terms of those partnerships, not only was Sarah Feinburg in Alma with me shortly after the derailment to answer questions from community activists and elected officials, but obviously her Federal Rail Administration officials were on the scene immediately to make sure that everything that needed to happen was happening. But we are here today to announce and I guess celebrate the awarding of a grant of $3 million to upgrade crossings and address safety issues of another sort. And I am very pleased about this. The grant itself is part of the STEP program, and as a fairly new member of the Senate Appropriations Committee, I was proud to urge for greater funding for that rail safety program. And I was also personally proud to put in a letter of support for this particular grant because it was a very comprehensive look, and we know that the resources are going to be well used. In addition, I just wanted to mention a couple of other safety measures that have gotten an appropriate amount of attention, and that is the constant need for greater transparency and communication between the private railways and government officials and the citizenry. And I was proud to push for and win 2 provisions in the recently passed Surface Transportation Bill known as the FAST Act, a bipartisan piece of legislation passed through the Congress. One relating to bridge inspection reports being available to local leaders who today, or I can't say that anymore, I was going to say today can't get a hold of them, but that's changing now, and that's been through the leadership of Sarah Feinberg in implementing this recently passed legislation. Additionally, I just believe so strongly that our local communities, first responders, need to know what's coming to their community, and not after the fact, but in advance, so that they can be prepared in the event of an emergency to know what they're running into, what they need to bring in terms of equipment, what they need to think about in terms of evacuation. We hope these things never happen, but those sort of planning exercises and need to know is so evident, and that provision also passed in the transportation bill with my leadership, and I am happy to see greater and greater transparency as we move along. So I've already spoken more than I intended to, but I'm really pleased that this grant is going to be used to enhance safety here in Waukesha County and Pewaukee, and I believe, after any questions you might have, that we're going to go and see where these funds are going to be put to work.
Do you know when these upgrades are going to take place? And I see the list of where, just curious about when.
Which is a great question. So we're just announcing the grant today, and it'll be probably at least weeks, if not months, before the work is actually done, but it takes a while to turn that around. But your local officials will have plans, your local and state officials will have plans for when the actual upgrade takes place.
Just also want to know what's next. I know there were some issues in Milwaukee that Fox 6 had brought to light. Now we're in Waukesha. I'm just curious about what's next.
Well, I guess leave it to a journalist to want to know what's next after you give $3 million and announce a bridge program. I'm just kidding. Of course, that's your job.